And welcome back tuning into today's video. It's Monday at GasWeatherBiz.com, which can mean only one thing. Yep, it's Europe Day. Every Monday at GasWeatherBiz, we have a look at the weather for the coming week across the continent, and today is going to be no exception. Now, before I get on with the European outlook, just want to talk about the advertising. There's video ads on my pages at GasWeatherBiz.com. Hit play on the video ad, you'll be supporting GasWeatherBiz.com. Thanks very much for doing that. The coming week is really going to be dominated by the weather pattern that we had last week, which is high pressure sitting up over Scandinavia and western Russia, trying to feed bitterly cold air in across the continent from the east, and low pressure coming in off the Atlantic, trying to keep very unsettled but also much milder conditions going from the west. And of course, where the two meet, we get a boundary of rain, sleet and snow, and some places across central parts of Europe could have quite a bit of snow this week on that boundary. But out in the west, we're looking at generally, I think, more in the way of rain, although we will have a cold incursion for a time through the course of this week, and how quickly that cold air backs away to the east at the end of the week is open to a lot of doubt and uncertainty. So this is today's Arctic pressure chart. We've got high pressure out to the northeast across Scandinavia and western Russia. 1,035 millibars, actually 1,040 millibars, centre of that high pressure, so a really intense area of high pressure over the north of Scandinavia. Low pressure is sitting right over top of British Isles, and we've got a strong and cold westerly wind. Should say that the air coming around these areas of low pressure from the Atlantic is originating across eastern Canada and the east of the United States, where of course it's been bitterly cold for most of the winter. So the air off the Atlantic isn't as mild as you might think it should be. Yeah, generally quite cold air circulating around these areas of low pressure, and that's just adding to the complicated and unusual picture as well. Here's today's upper air temperatures. It is milder in the west, but it isn't particularly mild. As I say, that air is originating from the eastern parts of Canada, where it's been bitterly cold, but the really cold air is up to the east and the northeast, particularly across Scandinavia and western parts of Russia. The dew point showing up better where that cold air is. It's milder out to west through Ireland, British Isles, Low Countries, north and western parts of France. It is milder there, but eastwards from eastern France through Germany, and then eastwards and northwards of that, bitterly cold, particularly for Scandinavia, western parts of Russia, coming down into eastern Europe and going down to the southeast, much colder across southeastern parts of Europe now as well. Precipitation shows that we've got showers along with spells of rain out in west. Some of this could be wind chill because the air circulating around that low pressure is quite chilly, but anything from France and Germany eastwards is going to be falling as snow, so some quite significant snow there for parts of southern Scandinavia, going down into Poland, also stretching eastwards in towards Ukraine, on into the Black Sea. Significant snow in those regions. Heavy showers or thunderstorms around Italy, could be some snow over the mountains, of course rain through the Adriatic. And then coming southeast, it's largely dry, but there could be some snow flurries around almost anywhere. The west is going to be pretty chilly, but not far from the average really, so 5, 6, 7 degrees for the British Isles, 5, 6, 7 degrees for France, but it's quite cool, but it's not desperately cold. And as I say, the really cold air is from Germany eastwards, for instance, through parts of Poland today. We're not going to get above around -3 in the west and -7 or -8 in the east, so really bitterly cold in the east and the northeast of Europe today. Now, as we move through to the middle of the week, that low pressure is going to be sinking southwards away into France. This area of high pressure from Scandinavia and west Russia is going to be starting to extend that easterly westwards across the continent. So the cold upper air temperatures are coming west into parts of Scotland and the eastern parts of England as well. And really most of the continent is going to have cold or very cold or bitterly cold upper air temperatures. It's only really for France, Spain and Portugal where those temperatures are holding up. The dew point showed that, well, it's going to be below freezing really from the British Isles eastwards by the time we get through to the middle of the week. So from the North Sea eastwards into the continent, bitterly cold, severely cold dew points there for much of northern and eastern parts of Europe. We'll have a wintry mix of rain, sleet or snow still going on in the west. This could turn increasingly wintry across parts of England and Wales and coming down in towards France through the middle of the week. But certainly for the eastern and central parts of Europe, that's where it's cold enough for snow to fall if it does fall. Although much of this is going to be sort of snow flurries under a lot of cloud, and it's mainly dry actually for Scandinavia, northeastern Europe and western parts of Russia. Coming down towards the Black Sea, heavy snow down there, and then coming through through Mediterranean, lots of heavy showers or thunderstorms will be cold enough for snow over the Alps, of course. Temperatures will be dropping in the west through the middle of the week, so edging back down towards 2, 3, 4 degrees to Ireland and British Isles, going down into France as well. Really from Germany eastwards again, most temperatures will be pegged back well below freezing, severely cold at night, and not getting above about -5 or -6 for many central parts of Europe through the middle of the week, even colder than that in the east. Moving through to Friday, and low pressure is trying to come back in off the Atlantic, and this is where the uncertainty is, really how quickly that low pressure extends in from the Atlantic, how much ground this high pressure to the northeast gives. Lots and lots of uncertainty about that at the moment. So this does show the cold air receding away to the northeast a little bit as we go through to the end of the week, but it still generally is a very cold scene, much of Scandinavia and northeast Europe. Although notice some of these southeastern parts of Europe will be warming up a little bit, as slightly less cold air or slightly milder air starts to be drawn up on that southerly wind from the Mediterranean. But to the northeast it is bitterly cold, and coming in from the west with that low pressure as it's stalling across the British Isles, cold air is starting to come back in from west. As I say, that westerly is not particularly warm. It's got a lot of cold air associated with it out of North America and Canada. Dew points show that the below freezing dew points are being pegged back a little bit to the east, but just how much ground they give, very uncertain. Certainly it looks like Germany eastwards is still going to have those dew points below freezing, although as I say, they will be starting to lift up a little bit, I think, in the southeast of Europe. Cold dew points coming in off the Atlantic as well, in towards Ireland and the British Isles. That's quite unusual. It just typifies how cold this air is that's exiting Canada and North America. So lots of heavy rain across Spain and Portugal at the end of the week. Really wet scene there, and as you come further northwards into France, British Isles and Ireland, that's going to turn in increasingly wintry potentially at the end of the week as that rain bumps into the cold air. But just how wintry that could get, it's very much uncertain. Then through Scandinavia, we've got outbreaks of snow. Much of that looks to be light. Dry through Germany and down into the central part of the Mediterranean, and then further east we've got lots of heavy showers, longer spells of rain in the southeast, but coming up through the Adriatic in towards the Balkans there'll be heavy snow, and that stretches northwards in towards parts of Poland and on into northeastern Europe as well. Outbreaks of snow there, turning more towards rain perhaps in the southeast if that slightly less cold air starts to edge in, but it's a very uncertain scene at the end of the week. Then into next weekend, we're into the realm of speculation, really, that the high pressure is still there over Scandinavia, stretched out into western Russia. Low pressure is around the west of Europe, a very messy scene, really. It shows that for Scandinavia and much of western northern and northeastern Russia, it's mainly cold and dry. Warmer air is coming up from the south into those eastern countries, but at the same time, it is quite cold still out in the west around those shallow areas of low pressure. Dew points showing that we're getting a rise down in the southeast of Europe, that's pushing northwards, but still much of the northeast is locked in the freezer. It's still cold through Germany, and dew points are below freezing for many parts of the British Isles and Ireland as well, under that shallow area of low pressure. Out in the west, across Spain, Portugal and into France, dew points do edge up a little bit away from the east of France, where they're going to be below freezing. Showers really across many western parts of Europe at the weekend. Some of this will be rain down in the south, some of it could be snow across parts of the British Isles going down in towards the Low Countries and Germany, but I do have to emphasise how uncertain this situation is at the end of the week. Heavy showers or thunderstorms down across Greece and Portugal. Coming further north, that will turn readily to snow through the Balkans, although it could turn back to rain eventually as that mild air gets dragged in. And then on into the east of Europe and through Scandinavia, most of that will be outbreaks of snow. Temperatures show that the temperatures are lifting up through central and eastern parts of Europe at the end of the week. The very coldest area is being pushed back towards the west of Russia, but it's still a pretty cold scene for most of central and eastern Europe. It's pretty cold out in the west as well, although it's not too bad for France, Spain and Portugal, but for Britain and Ireland, that's showing quite a cold area of low pressure, it has to be said. So, in summary, well, it's basically the ongoing battle between the west and the east. The high pressure over Scandinavia wants to bring that cold air west across Europe. The mild air in the west wants to push the milder air in off the Atlantic, and where the two meet, we've got real problems, a real battleground situation. I think it's going to be central parts of Europe that's going to get most of the snow. Rain towards the west, although there could be some snow at times and of course bitterly cold out to the east. Getting very uncertain at the end of the week, so quite how this plays out at the end of the week is very uncertain. But probably the cold air gradually receding to the northeast through the week. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. See you next week. Bye for now.